Welcome to the table, a podcast where we share real stories, struggles, and victories as we walk together in faith. This week, I have another one of my friends, Morgan Bruce, joining me on the podcast. She's going to share about an experience that happened quite a few years ago that has really marked a season of her life. But you're also going to hear a lot about restoration and healing, restoring broken relationships, and redeeming hurt. And how the Lord has been faithful to carry her through this season and bring her to the other side stronger and more confident in his presence in her life every day. So let's get into it. Join me and my friend Morgan Bruce for this week's conversation.
All right. Hi, Morgan.
Hello.
Welcome to the table. I'm really excited to have you here today.
I'm super excited to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of weird to say how we met because it's a kind of a long story, but basically our kids, your oldest and my oldest, have been in school together since kindergarten. And so we've gotten to know each other because of our kids, but we actually um, were like connected, knew of each other. I don't know. Our families, maybe that's how I should say it. Our families have known each other for a really, really long time. So it's fun for me to get to have you as one of my dear friends because it's just like fun how the Lord works all that out when I, didn't even know. So we have kids that are very similar ages, and we have just spent the last several years getting to know each other. And you are one of my really dear friends, and I think you and I have spent the most time like planning the next time we're going to get to see each other because our schedules are so busy, and it feels like we're always talking about, okay, the next time that the stars align and we get together, like what are we going to do? And getting to catch up is always a treat. So I'm excited to have an hour of uninterrupted time to just talk to you about whatever we want to talk about. But do you want to introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, and whatever else you want to share?
Yeah. I'm Morgan Bruce. I am from Oklahoma. I've been here since I was 19. I've met my husband, so we're settled in right outside of White House. And yeah, I'm a hairdresser, a mama of two girls. I've got a brother and a sister. Um, nothing, nothing crazy. Just my oldest is with Livy, so in fourth grade, and then my youngest is about to start first. So we're just entering in a whole new phase, an exciting phase of life as they get older and the chaos of schedules. And yes, she said it right. I feel like we are constantly like, when can we do next? Because our schedules are just busy, but it's a fun season. So that's kind of where we're currently at now. It's just parenting and school and all of that. So.
It keeps you busy. Keeps me busy.
Yes, it does.
So
Yes, it
we
does.
have enough going on for sure. Morgan, as like a way to get to know our guests that come on the podcast, we usually talk about these three questions. So the very first one is about fueling your spirit. What's a way in the last couple of weeks, however long, that you have been fueling your spirit?
So I love to sit. I'm in my favorite spot right now outside on my porch, in the mornings or in the evenings, and I feel just it's quiet and it's peaceful, and it's a time that I can just come and sit in the quiet and just pray and hear the word of God and read. And um, that's a lot. I feel like when life is so busy and so chaotic, finding a quiet spot that you can just calm down is good. And it's hard, it's difficult. There are a lot of times where I don't prioritize it, but um, that and then friendships. God has put me in a space where I have a lot of friendships and a lot of good friendships. Life filling. Friends I can come to with questions or spiritual heaviness, or I need prayer. Like I feel like God has just placed a lot of amazing women in my life that I have not had in a long time. So that's been a very big thing for me, and just just kind of like you said, it's just fulfilling. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talk about that space. Like everyone, either if you don't have one, you need to find your space. But everybody has a place where they do exactly what you said. Like it's just quiet, and that's the time that they're always there
Hmm.
to be prayerful, or like that's where they study the word. They just have a sweet space, and being outside is a really good place to choose for that. So,
Yes.
what about? So you talked about the people that you have in your life. Like, where are what's some of the places that you're finding fellowship with other people right now?
A lot of it has been through the kids' school. I was a preschool teacher for about 3 years, and so I had a lot of connections um, through the different women that I taught with or were co-teachers with, and then just moms of my girls' friends. I mean, that's a lot of the reason why we got so close was just our girls connected, and
Hmm.
we connected, and um, I feel like when you like pouring into them, God has blessed and given me friends as well. So it's super cool to be friends with your kids' friends' moms. So it's just a really special thing for me.
Yeah, last week it makes me think about the conversation I had with Sarah last week, and she talked about how she like prayed for God to send her people, and she
Yeah.
thought it was going to be in such a specific way, and it ended up being the moms and her kids co-op group. Like she has to
Yeah.
teach her kids, and so there were like God provided community there, and it's kind of the same way. It sounds like it's
Yeah.
the same way for you. Like you had to be at work and God provides you
Yeah.
community there. And we have to have our kids at school. And like we've gotten to know the moms in our kids' classes and stuff. So I think was that what you were expecting? Were you expecting to find your community there?
No, and I am very much a one friend kind of girl. I always have been, where I have like one really close friend that I do everything with, that I talk to. And then,
Hmm.
you get married and your spouse becomes that one person. And and then you have kids, and I feel like you pull away and you can't pour into just one person all the time.
Yeah.
And so I struggled. And I was thinking about it yesterday, honestly, because I've the summers we just get together with people and there's lots of play dates and
Yeah.
activities, and it's been somebody different every week or every other day. It's a new friend or a new, not new, but just different friend. And just how much of a blessing that is, and how cool that is that the Lord can use so many people and to build a community. I don't know if I've really ever had a community of women around me like I have in this season. And so it's not anything I expected, but it's just amazing to me that the Lord knows what you need
Hmm.
in this season and when you're in. And so I feel very grateful and very blessed for that.
Yeah. I have joked with some of my friends this week, so you know that we got our teacher assignments. We talked about this, but I was at work when they were posted. I had no idea they were posted. But that's another tangent. I was at work. I had no idea, but I got like 6 text messages from different people, all saying, "Who'd you get? Who'd you get? Who'd you get?" I was like, I didn't even know I had this many friends that all
Yes.
were connected to my kids and to school and invested in who their teacher is. And so it's just a funny reminder. It's of
Yes.
exactly what you just said. There are just people that you get to know because of where you are all the time, and God puts them there for a reason. So, all right, our third question is about forgiveness, and this is always a doozy because for the most part, I mean, you're just talking to me, but a lot of people don't know you that are going to listen to this. So, Morgan, tell us something that you need forgiveness for lately.
Whew. Honestly, not prioritizing my time with God. Like I feel like I'm in such a crazy busy spot. It's so
Hmm.
easy to say that um, I'm praying, I'm doing all of this, and I feel convicted. Every Sunday I go to church, I feel like there's always either something said or like, are you reading the word? Are you praying? And I feel like I pray, but I do not come out daily and seek the Lord. And that is something I need for forgiveness for, and something that I need to. prioritize over everything. And so it has been a struggle since life has gotten busier, just really
Hmm.
honing in and prioritizing God and time with Him, and not just sitting here in silence, but actually seeking Him and actually reading the Word and asking Him, what does He have for me today? Or who do I need to be praying for? I feel like it's so easy for me to come out here and sit and just either decompress or just think about my to-do list or what I need or who, like, all about me. And sometimes I just need to ask the Lord, like, who do
Hmm.
I need to pray for? Who do I need to talk to? Or what do you want to tell me? And so that's a big one for me.
I think a lot of moms at this time of year feel really seen by what you just said. It's so hard. The
Yes.
summer, like all of our routines are just out the window. And I know because I know you that you have like really intentional, I don't know, like time with God built into your schedule. And you're terribly disciplined. And so I feel like the time of year coming up on the end of summer, which I cannot believe we're at the end of summer. It's just so hard. It's so hard. How have you, okay, help encourage some other moms that feel the same way. Like, how have you made it work in the summer? What have you done to adjust because things are so busy?
Um, so I'm very, like you said, I'm very schedule oriented. Um, and not sticking to the schedule. Understanding of, hey, I don't get to read my Bible, or I don't get to come out and sit and pray at 7 in the morning, which is what I like to do. It might be
Hmm.
at 8 o'clock at night, or it might be at 3 o'clock, or it might be like, it doesn't have to stick to this rigid schedule. Like, there's a
Yeah.
fluidity and there's a grace, especially in summer when there is play dates, um, and understanding that God is, you can talk to him all day. Like, it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be this certain settings, certain, like, it's just being aware would be the biggest thing. And I'm not the best at it. I feel like a lot of days in the day, and I'm like, man, I didn't pray once, or I didn't sit down, or I didn't love my kids the way I should. Like, we all have that, but just being aware and waking up the next day and I'm going to do better, or I'm
Hmm.
going to find time, or I'm going, like, you just keep pressing forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's really encouraging to all the moms that are crazy busy with getting ready for back to school and all the play dates and trying to get everything
Yes.
in before before this season ends.
Yes.
Morgan, so you know this, but like to recap, I guess we're in a series on the podcast, and we have our guests coming and talking about hard seasons in their life. Um, and we're doing that because everybody goes through hard seasons. Like this is nobody is missing out on the hard things in life. But also one of the things that we really focus on the podcast is community and how important it is. We've already talked about
Yes.
that some today, but just how you never know when you're going to need those people to show up for you. And so it really matters who you choose and who you live your life with. And then also, even in the middle of the really hard things that feel like you might not ever get out of the season that you're in, God is still faithful. And a lot of times you might not be able to see that in the moment, and sometimes you can, but sometimes you see that long after you're out of that season and you look back and you see his faithfulness. So, um, is there a specific season that has been really hard in your life that you want to talk about today?
Yeah. So I don't really know how to start. It's kind of hard to give like a whole backstory, or so just stop me if you need to stop me or redirect. But
Okay.
I um I grew up in a very Christian home, very conservative home. Um, my husband is actually the first man that I ever kissed or ever held hands. Like, when I say conservative, it was very strict in a good way. Like, I have um no issues with how I grew up in that manner. Um, and my mom was sick. A lot of the time she has a degenerative back disease, and so she has gone through a lot of different back surgeries, and um, she got hooked on some opioids during the early 2000s, and that kind of bled through our lives, pretty much all my teenage years. Whether it was opioids, she would pull off of those, and then it would move to alcohol, it would move to different addictions. And so the time that I was 16, I had a boyfriend that was head, I was just head over heels. I was going to marry him. It's that first love, I feel like everybody has that where that's just, that's your person. And we were together since I was 14 until about 16. And he was into drugs as well. And so I had seen my mom walk through so much stuff. I couldn't do it again with another person. And I was like, look, I need you to pick one. I was like, if you can't stop drugs, I can't continue this relationship. And so he was like, I'll get clean, I'll get clean. Didn't get clean. So I sat down and I had my mom and my dad, and like it was a big deal. Like we were heartbroken, and I was like, I just can't continue this. Um, and all the while, we had a Bible study of all of my really close friends at the school. I went to a tiny private school. There was probably, I think, 3 or 4 people in my grade, and like they would combine grades. So when I say we were close, like we grew up together. And so there was probably 6 to 8 of us in that Bible study group, and he came to all the Bible study groups and all of the things. And so we had gone to the lake for my birthday, and him and my mom, I think there was alcohol involved. There was a lot of circumstances that led up to it, but they ended up starting an affair during that trip. And they were together for 6 months. Um, and all of the while, like they would, he had left our school, and he would come with my mom to come pick me and my siblings up. He would go on trips with my mom. He would be over at our house really late. I would tag along with my mom to go see him. Um, and there was always like an inkling, like I could tell you the day it probably started, just because there was a lot of signs after it all came out that, you start putting pieces together. And so I never knew. We moved states, came to Tennessee, got married to my husband, and about less than 6 months in, um, my mom told me that my dad had an affair and that they were working through it. And I was like, okay. And she was devastated. And she said, I just want you to know that it's not just your dad's fault. Like, I've had an affair as well. I was like, okay. Um, and I didn't really know how to respond. And she said the number, she goes, it was 7 years ago. So I started putting all these pieces together, and I asked her, I confronted her. All the pieces started like dominoing. And I pulled back, was not in relationship with her for a while, probably six to 10 months, because it wrecked who I thought I was, who I thought my family was, who I thought God was. To say it shook me is an understatement. I feel like when you're the one person that you feel like you should trust, and you had given your everything to, like I said, she was very sick all growing up, and I helped raise my siblings. I stepped up to the plate time and time again to make sure she was okay. And then to find out that she betrayed you in that manner, and then never told you, it was just, it was a very hard thing, to move forward from. And like I said, there's so many different layers to that, and lots of repercussions that have happened since then. And so it's just, It's a sore that has never quite healed.
Hmm.
Um, and it's something that God has restored. It is still, what is it, 17 years later, is still something that I have to walk through emotionally, um, pretty often.
Hmm.
So yeah, that would by far, that's the hardest season. I don't feel like I am necessarily struggling to process it now.
Yeah.
Um, but it is, that was the hardest point for me ever to see God and to see why and to understand the reasoning behind that and why we had to go through that.
The very first thing that this makes me think of, and I've heard like bits and pieces of this story before, but the first thing that I think of is you were a child. And I think about our
Mm.
kids, and I mean, thank the Lord that they're only 9 and we have several years before
Yeah.
they are the same age that you are in that situation. But like, you were just a child when all of that was happening. And I can't imagine how that impacted you. I mean, even into your young adult life. You mentioned that you guys were in a Bible study. Talk about your relationship with the Lord during that time. I mean, you've seen your mom struggle already. That, like, she was already struggling. And so in that season, like, breaking up with the boy that you loved first and your mom struggling, like, what was your relationship with the Lord like?
Um, I would say, I mean, I was, 16, 17. You're still pretty immature at that
Yeah.
age, but I was very close to the Lord. Um, I feel like the foundation that I had, building like that was built in me, seeking the Lord and praying. Like I was very close. It was very much a heaviness. I would not say I had joy in the Lord. I feel like I
Yeah.
always sought Him for comfort and sought Him for just how do you get out of this? I feel like when you're in a situation where there's always, and there was a lot of good that happened a lot of good that happened
Yeah.
in my childhood. But when you are dealing with something that is chronic, and then a devastation, I feel like you just are trying to survive and you're just trying to figure out what
Hmm.
what it looks like to take that next step. And so I feel like the Lord just came alongside of me in that moment. And I um, wrote songs a lot, and a lot of my songs were very dark, just because I was sad and I couldn't put a finger at the time. Like I said, I was immature. Um, I couldn't put a finger as to exactly why. I knew it was hard, and I knew that the situation I was in was hard, and it didn't look the same as my friends.
Yeah.
Um, but I always knew that the Lord was there. I always, like, there's the verse that says, the Lord will hold you in his hand, like holding hands with God. That's what I felt. I felt like I had his hand, he had my hand, and we were just taking the next step together
Hmm.
through the whole thing.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to like fast forward now to Morgan today. What what do you know now about God because you went through that season?
Um, I learned about his grace for sure. I feel like through all of it, there was that Lauren Daigle song, the Rescue,
Hmm.
um, that I think it either just had come out or I just found out about it, and that the Lord cares about you and where you're at, and
Hmm.
He has grace for you where you're at. I learned a lot about His forgiveness, um, and what that means. I remember when I first found out, and I immediately was trying to comfort her because I mean, nobody wants to tell their daughter that either. And so she was
Yeah,
upset. And I
that's
went
hard.
into, let me comfort you and make sure you're okay. And I immediately was like, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. And I didn't know what that meant. I still feel like I am learning what true forgiveness is and
Hmm.
what that looks like. And I feel like he showed me his forgiveness and his restoration. my mom and I have a relationship, and I think that is huge.
Yeah.
We lost it for a little bit, but I feel like the Lord has restored so much, and um, I just he is faithful. Like he never left me. He never left my mom. He never um, I can see his hand through the whole thing. And it was hard for my husband to walk through that as well. I mean, he had just married into this family, and then all of this stuff comes out, and
Yeah.
I could see his grace with my husband, who handled it so wonderfully and just kind of walked beside me. And what do you need? How can I help you? Like, do you want a relationship? Like and that is, my husband's very black and white. So for him to be able to have that fluidity and like, we'll figure this out. To me, I saw
Hmm.
God's hand just in that. So I would just say that his faithfulness for sure.
Yeah, this isn't a question that I asked you beforehand, so you don't have to answer. But
That's okay.
one of the things that I think I worry about the most is, am I doing something right now that's going to have really big repercussions on my kids later? And because I honestly, as moms, this is how I feel. I'm just showing up and doing the best I can today. Like I'm truly just
Yeah.
doing my best. But there are things about me, I'm sure, that my kids are going to talk to their therapist about in 20 years. So I know this is a big incident that happened. I don't even know how else you would describe it. Like something really drastic happened, and you are the way you are still, I would argue, by the grace of God. But talk about restoration, because you've used that word a lot. And I think a lot of times, um, in our culture right now, it is very much like if you hurt me, or even if you say something that I don't like, I'm going to break the relationship and we are not going to continue. Like, I'm done. I'll
Mhm.
just be done with this. It's a really popular thing right now for kids to like cut off their relationship with their parents, for silly reasons, right? Like, I don't like the way that you're parenting me, or I don't want to live
Right.
the way that you want me to live. But in this like truly devastating situation, how did God bring restoration? Like, how did you work through that? Because I bet there are moms that are living this same experience,
Mhm.
and they're not on the other side of it yet. So talk about what the restoration looks like.
Um, so obviously when it first happened, I didn't know what way was up or down,
Yeah.
honestly. Like I didn't know how to talk to my mom. I didn't know how to move forward with her. I didn't know if I wanted to move forward with her. There was so many things, and then there's also some things with my dad that to this day still is not taking accountability for or talked to. So I pray restoration over him. I would not say that we have a strong relationship to this day from it. So I feel like it looks different per situation, and I feel like it looks different um, for each person. Um, Either that person who has wronged you, like my mom has done everything that she knows to do and can do to seek a healing. She wants a relationship with me, but if I looked at her and said, Mama, I can't do this anymore, I cannot move past this, she just wants me to find healing.
Hmm.
And my dad doesn't want to talk about it at all. And so the restoration is coming easier with my mother. And I feel like the Lord is opening those doors to do that because she's willing and able to talk. Until that person's ready to talk or that person's ready to find healing in that relationship, I don't feel like the Lord's always going to restore that relationship. So for me, restoration looks like being whole for myself. And when I came to, I had a pastor. We went to a life church, and his wife met with me, really quickly afterwards, I had told her, I was like, there's something that happened in my family. I would love to have a conversation. I'm really struggling. And she met with me that night. It was like a couple days after I found out. And it has always stuck with me. She told me, because I was like, how do I go forward? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to have this relationship. I don't know what I'm looking for. And she said, just imagine a red dot. And she said, that's where you're at. God's not asking you to move off that dot. He's not asking you to forgive immediately and come over here. He said, this is where you're at. You are devastated. You are hurt. You are unsure of the future. And she said, you
Mm-hmm.
sit there and you stay there. You don't try to wiggle out of it. You don't try to get healing yourself. You sit there and let the Lord heal you. And I feel like, especially moms, we so quickly want to just fix the problems and we so
Yeah.
quickly want to jump to the next thing or not take care of yourself because there's other things that need to do. And sometimes I feel like the Lord is just saying, just sit and feel this and learn from it. And I'm trying to tell you something in this moment. And so I did. Like I said, I didn't talk to my mother for probably 6 months. And we went into like a little meeting with my pastor, his wife, my husband, my dad, my mom, and just kind of walked through the situation, the hurt. And I honestly, I don't remember a whole lot of that conversation. I think I was still pretty just broken. And I just felt like it was a constant daily seeking the Lord and figuring out who I am in Christ instead of, because I feel like it took away my identity. Like I was not sure who I was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
When your person that you trust to guide you has done something it's not okay, it forces you to really figure out who you are and who God is. And so it was just a constant learning to this day. I'm still learning. I'm reading a Bible study book right now. It's called Worthy, and understanding how God sees me is that outside of circumstances, outside of relationships, outside of expectations, knowing who you are in Christ and being able to walk in that freedom and in that identity, that is where healing comes from. And once you start walking in who God has called you to be and really understanding who you are in Christ and who He is, then the healing can begin. You can start having those conversations. You can start creating those boundaries of what it looks like. Like, I am not in a relationship with my mom out of an expectation of this is my mother. I need to be in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with her. We have set boundaries. I don't know if things will ever be back to the same, but I have a wonderful relationship with my mom now, and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to say that. And it's taken
Yeah.
a long time, but it's a slow journey. Sometimes I also feel like you wait for the shoe to drop. And so it's just that constant giving it back to the Lord of this is what you have given me. And just praying over it, continually praying healing, continual praying restoration. And like I said, it just looks different for every person.
Okay, there's several things I want to talk about. The
Okay.
first thing, I'm going to say the first thing so I don't forget it because I think it's like one of the most important things that you said. I think right now, so many people and things and places are trying to speak into who we are. And we are constantly bombarded by messages about who we are,
Yeah.
whether it's like on social media and the people that we actually know and what they are posting, or it's, reels and TikToks or whatever you're scrolling that tell you who you're supposed to be and who you are. And I think that it's really what you said about uh, understanding who you were through the lens of the Lord is where you started to find healing. Like when
Hmm.
you realized your identity in Christ, that's when you were able to begin to heal. And I think a lot of people probably struggle with that, with figuring out who they are. So I'm going to link that Bible study in the show notes for
Yeah.
people to check out. The other thing that struck me is in an episode recently, I think it was Sarah was talking about how if you're going through a really hard season, like your leaders in your church, they want to show up for you. But if you don't tell them, they can't. If they don't know what's going on, they can't be there to support you in the way that like God has called them to support you. And I just think about that pastor's wife, and then even your pastor, his wife, and all of you sitting down together, and how that's just a really good example of how the church was meant to function. Like you were meant to have leaders within your church that would come around you in times like this, and really good times, and really sad times, in times of loss, in times of hurt. Like, but if you don't tell them, they don't know. So how has this is gonna like a segue into my next question. Like, what has all of this taught you about community?
How important it is.
Yeah.
I honestly, going through it outside of my pastor and his wife, I didn't talk about it. I wouldn't say I was ashamed of it. I don't feel like I was healed enough to even bring it up without
Yeah.
it crushing you. I had my husband and I had but honestly, I didn't even reach out to my pastor's wife after that first initial time. And I was so lonely and I just felt like I was flailing. And the more I talked about it and the more that I trusted people, honestly, Catherine, you were one of the first like friends outside of like who knew me back then that I told. Um, it it just showed you, like you said, people want to show up. They want to help, but they can't if you don't allow them to. And I feel like the Lord uses friends, uses people around you to bring certain healing that you didn't even know you needed. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't surround yourself with those people and you don't trust them to walk through hard seasons with you, you're missing out. Like, I just feel like God has made us to be a community and He has
Yeah.
made us to pray together. I mean, that's why it says two or more gathered in my name, there I am amongst them. Like, I feel like He calls us to be there for one another. And when you allow that and when you really start walking in that, the healing and the beauty of friendships, I really feel starts unfolding. And it's a really cool thing to see. And I saw it on both ends. I saw it when I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have it and then when I did. And there's just such a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's another part of this, maybe in Christian culture, at least in my experience, maybe I should say that, like growing up. A lot of the messaging is like, you need to look like you have your life together. Like,
Yeah.
do not tell people things that you're struggling with. And I think I have even had people take it to the extreme of, if you share your struggles, like, that is not honoring to the Lord. Like, the only person you should share those with is God. And I think that that's so hurtful now, because it created this need to look like things were perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And like, you have such an interesting perspective because you didn't have it, a lot of community at the beginning, and you do now. And so you can see it, like you said, on both ends. But I think a lot of people are so dedicated to keeping everything real rosy that just the thought of saying out loud something that's going on in their life like makes them, nauseous. I don't know. So if nothing else, I hope people hear your story and are encouraged to just find their person. And that doesn't mean that I like tell this really intimate story on my Instagram, right? And like share it to the whole
Yeah.
world. Like, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. But to not lean into your community when really hard things are happening, I agree with you. My life has taught me that that is a mistake, that you're missing
Yeah.
out on the blessing of all of the love and encouragement that the people God has put around you have to offer in the
Definitely.
really good things and the really hard things. So I just appreciate you sharing
Yeah.
that perspective.
I think Satan isolates you and he wants
Oh
you to
yeah.
feel like you shouldn't talk about this or shameful or they don't want to hear your sob story or they don't need to, you're so quickly isolated. And
Hmm.
I just don't believe that is how we're supposed to live. So,
Yeah. I agree. I think the enemy does his best work in when we're in isolation. And I'm so quick to believe the lies that he tells me when I think
hmm
I'm all by myself. Um,
yes,
so it's a dangerous place to be. Yeah. I'm learning that for myself, but also in the stories that I'm hearing the people in my community share. So, that has definitely been a theme over the last long time that we have to be together to be able to do
yeah.
this. What how did this experience, which I feel like has different phases for you as a whole though, like how has this experience changed how you live now, and or how has it changed your relationship with the Lord? Like, how are you different now because of that?
I feel like live, I'm a people pleaser. Um, and I always have been. And I feel like this has truly taught me you cannot base your expectations of either who you are or your happiness or your place in life by other people's expectations or their, I don't know, like what they want you to be, who they want you to be. And I I have just learned to set boundaries and to walk in the freedom of who I know I am.
Yeah.
You can tell me you are not enough. You can tell me you are not going to be successful or you're not a good mom. And you can tell yourself those things. I feel like as moms, we are constantly playing the if I did this different or if I did that different and coming back to the word, coming back to I'm a big journaler, going back and reading all of the journal entries and seeing God's faithfulness move from sometimes you forget. And so to read and see where He has brought you from here to there and all of His faithfulness, it kind of shakes you and it's like, I am enough. I am okay. Like God is with me. I'm strong. You start eventually you will believe them, um, even if you don't when you start. Like you
Hmm.
just constantly are reassuring your mind and going alongside the Bible of who God says you are, and that His, um, like I said, created a lot of boundaries with a lot of different people. I feel like if you are a people pleaser, you can get in some toxic situations just because you're trying to
Yeah.
um, please this person or you'll compromise who you are or what you believe to fit into the situation. And so stepping outside of that and just being like, this is who I am. And if you like it, it's great. And if you don't, that's okay too. And just staying in that headspace. And like I said, constantly backing it with the word of God and
Hmm.
remembering what God says um, has been the biggest thing for me and how I am different. And I feel like I'm a lot stronger as well. Like I can walk through harder circumstances. I feel like when you've seen God's faithfulness through a hardship, you know who is standing beside you and you know that the Lord is with you. And it you don't walk in fear. You just I would say I'm not fearful of the future. I'm not fearful of there's always life. Life is hard, but to my core, like God did not give me a spirit of fear. I've said that verse time and time again. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just in the forefront of my mind all the time. And so that would probably be the biggest.
Yeah, I think that's a really good advice, honestly, for somebody that's walking through it is to stay in the Word and tell yourself the truth of the Word over and over and over and over until you believe it. Because it, I mean, like you were talking about journaling, which I want to pick your brain about that just a little bit. But I think what happens as you go through really hard things and you watch the Lord's faithfulness is it increases your faith. So then when the next
Hmm.
little thing comes up, you're like, I have the faith to deal with it. Like, I know he's got
Yeah.
this. I'm not worried. And I think that's what you're describing
Yeah.
is like things hard still happen and you still have to like do hard things and push through. But you have the faith because of the relationship that the path
Yeah.
you've walked with him already to be able to face that head on, knowing who you are and who he is. Talk to me about journaling.
I've always journaled. I actually have my journal out. Used to be all the questions. So I have always journaled. And there will be seasons in my life where I don't journal as much. I'll get busy. And each one of my journal entries looks a little different. And again, I feel like that's also just the season in which you're at with the Lord. There's
Hmm.
sometimes where it's just Bible verses, and there are sometimes where it's just prayers or it's just crying out to God, where I just sometimes all I can do is write what's going on. And I like to start, especially if I'm praying for something specific, I will journal that and just pray, and then I will back it with Bible verses and write those Bible verses in. Or if the Lord spoke to me a certain way, I will write that out. Um, but it's something I've probably got five or six that are filled all the way through. I journal for my husband through like all of our dating process, and like I said, we so quickly can forget what
Yeah.
we have walked through and the faithfulness that God has had through our seasons. And one of my favorite things to do is to go back, especially when I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through this right now. I'm having such a hard time to go back in that journal and see the Lord walk me through another hard season. Like he was faithful in that, he'll be faithful in this. And
Hmm.
um, I'm just, it's just a way to process too. I feel
Yeah.
like you can get in your head and emotions can get in your head, but when you're writing, um, you're just almost more factual. Like you are writing just kind of what happens without the emotion. And then I usually pray over it and I'll reread it and just, I don't know. It's just something
Hmm.
I've always done.
I love that. I want to be a journaler so bad. Like I tried so hard at different seasons of my life to do that because remembering is something we're commanded to do over and over and over and over and over in the Word. Like
Hmm.
remember, remember, remember. And I have a horrible memory, and so I need those reminders. And I have a list like in my phone of like God moments that I try to keep track of. But I think it would be so good if I could get on the journaling bandwagon. So maybe, in a new season, that'll be
Well, and
something
I
that I
think
can
there's
do.
something too, like when you're writing it, like you see it, like you see the scripture, but then when
Yeah.
you're writing the scripture, I feel like that is also a great way for it to get into your minds and get,
Hmm.
um, I don't know. I love it. And they make them so pretty. Like this is mine that I have right now.
Oh,
And
so
I
pretty.
love them. And then I will also, like, if I have notes or something, like I'll tape notes in there,
Hmm.
um, or different song lyrics that have just, I feel like the Lord has spoken to you. Like, I feel like every person that journals is different. So don't put a ton of pressure that you have
Yeah.
to do it a certain way. Sometimes it's just writing, oh my gosh, I saw God in this way today. And then
Yeah.
that's it. Like, that's all you put in there. Um, Mine reads like a diary. Like you can read mine and you can walk through a lot of different things. So it's just different for everybody.
Yeah. Do your girls journal?
No, they haven't started yet.
They haven't started yet.
They probably will. They
They
probably
probably
will.
will. Yeah. Yeah. They'll
Yeah.
also, are you going to give them your journals
Yeah.
eventually? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I have all my journals, um, like of the instances, which is crazy too, to see God. You were asking like how was your relationship with God when all of this stuff started? I can go back into
And
my
look.
journals and I can
Yeah.
see exactly where my headspace was when I found out, or when I didn't really, you knew, but you don't know.
Right.
You just knew something was weird going on, and you can see God's hand through that all the way through. And so it's such a cool thing. And yeah, I don't know, I don't know if my girls will read it, but if they ever do, or if they need something, like they will have it.
Yeah. I think that's so sweet. Somebody was talking to me about doing that in their Bibles, that they're like journaling through a Bible to give to their kids, which is
Cool.
like such a sweet thing. I wish I had the brain to be able to do that. Maybe one day. But honestly, Morgan, like they are seeing all of these things that you're doing, and they're learning by your example, like what they want their relationship with the Lord to look like. And like some days that feels, I mean, every day that feels like a really tall order for me as a mom. But
Yes.
when I listen to you talk about all of these things, like your girls are learning that from you too. So be encouraged, because your kids they're going to find their identity in who God says they are. And maybe they'll miss some of the hard things that we went through
Yeah.
moving forward. I don't know. But what would
Okay.
you say to someone who is going through something similar, or has just recently gone through something similar, and they feel that sense of, I don't, I'm going to choose my own words, like that sense of desperation, or like devastation that it's never gonna be healed. How would you encourage
Yeah.
them?
Um, to stop, just just stop, and to breathe, and just pray. Like, hit your knees and just pray. Like, I think I said it earlier. It's so easy for us to try to be better, and to try to um get over a situation.
Hmm.
And sometimes the Lord is just asking you to be still. Um, and I would just search God in all areas, ask Him to show Himself to you, um, learn who He is, and learn how He sees you. The world and the circumstances can alter your vision, and asking God to strip that and to show you His heart. Um, and you can't help but not be changed when you pray those prayers. When you start seeing what God sees, like, it will change. And just laying down your expectations of whatever that looks like.
Hmm.
Um, Expectations of this relationship's going to be healed, or this relationship will never be healed. Um, Truly surrendering what your vision is moving forward, and giving that to God, to
Hmm.
truly trust that whatever the outcome is, that He has got it, and not try to fix it yourself.
That's so hard.
Yeah.
I think we try so. We want to fix
Yeah.
it. I want to fix it. But that's such good advice, to let go of your expectation either way. Like just
Yeah.
surrender the situation to Him, and know that He is working all things for your good and His glory. And He's,
Well, and people are going to disappoint you, circumstances are going to disappoint you. And so if that is just the biggest thing that has taught me, is just expectations in all areas of life, your marriage, your kids. If your kids are not doing what you think they should be doing, like, I just understanding that the Lord has got you, and He has got your kids, He's got your spouse, He's got all your family members. Um, and just honing in and seeing what He's trying to teach you in that moment. And just sometimes that is enough.
that's so good. My sister, I was like wrestling with this hard thing this week, and my sister was encouraging me, and she said, I am really sad for you. Like, I know that you are disappointed in this situation, but also, isn't it such a relief that you don't have to figure out what's going to happen next, that you don't
Yeah.
have to find the plan, because God is going to do that for you, and you don't have to bear that weight. You can be sad about what's happening and be disappointed, but like
Yep.
at least you don't have to figure it out. You just have to sit here and wait for Him to bring you where He wants you next. And that was really good advice. Like,
Yeah.
He, in the same situation that you're describing too, just be there. Like, you're not the one that has to figure out how it's all going to work out. He'll step in and do that
Yep.
for you, for all of us, which is
Absolutely.
crazy that He cares about us
Yes.
that much, that He can do that for every single one of us. It's so good. Good. I really appreciate you taking some time
Yeah.
to sit outside in the quiet and talk to me about this. And I obviously appreciate your friendship and your willingness to just jump into whatever I ask you to do. But I'm really grateful, and I think people are going to be encouraged. So thanks, Morgan.
You're welcome. I'm glad I was able to. Like, I just think God has got restoration for them, for this situation and for others. So my prayer is that the Lord will use this story to help,
Yeah.
even if it's just one person who's struggling. So,
Yeah.
which I think
I
is the
think you.
beauty of your podcast. I think God is doing great things with it. So,
Thanks, friend. Thanks for
doing
being here.
great. All right.
Thanks. Okay, what'd you think?
It was good. I was not as
Thanks for coming to the table. We hope today's conversation encouraged you as you seek Jesus in the big moments and the little ones. Check out the show notes for any scripture, resources, whatever we talked about today. Feel free to share this episode, leave a comment, ask a question, or share your thoughts with us. Come back and join us again next week. We'll be right here. If you haven't already, go follow or subscribe wherever you listen and find us on socials to catch up if you don't have time to listen throughout the week, or just to find out what all the next episodes are about. Also, we know you have things to say, examples to share, wisdom to give, so look for opportunities this week to share with those around you or even with us. All right, we'll see you next time.